So today we learn about Daniel chapter 6 verses 19 through 23. And we learn about Daniel. So Daniel lived in Babylon, and then Babylon was invaded. Everyone knows? Does anybody know what invaded means? Anybody? Eugene? I think you know the answer. What does invaded mean? Yes, like attack. Jaden, you know the answer? So invade, yes. Invade means to attack and then eventually have control, rule over maybe an entire country. So Babylon was attacked by the Persians, and they invaded all of Babylon. And we had King Darius, who appointed Dan a very high position in the king's court. So this person, Dan, in the Bible, he had a very, very high power position where he served the king and listened to what the king told him to do. However, there was only one important person in Daniel's life. Well, not person. I guess the important spiritual being was God. So God was everything to Daniel. And even though Daniel had this very high position in the king's court, he refused to eat the king's food. So everyone said, hey, you should enjoy this very fancy meal that the king eats. But Daniel didn't accept it. Daniel said, no, I don't need this. People even said, you should bow down to the king, to Daniel. But Daniel didn't listen. Instead, Daniel just prayed to God every day. He prayed that eventually the power of Babylon would be restored. So this really angered the people. So the people tried to find a way to kill Daniel. So they were trying to convince the king, King Darius, oh, this person Daniel, he's a very terrible person. And then they were even trying to take away prayer in Babylon. So then they plotted this big master plan to the king. They were trying to tell the king, oh yeah, like we should kill Daniel. This guy's no good. And then the king listened. So he was manipulated by the people who had a very high position in the king's court. And then the king said, okay, so I punish Daniel. I condemn him to death. Let's kill Daniel. And then he sent him into a lion's den. Has anyone ever seen a lion in their life? Peyton, where have you seen a lion? At a zoo a long time ago. Yes, I hope you didn't see one in your backyard, because that'd be pretty dangerous. So yeah, you would only see a lion maybe in Africa these days, or yeah, at the zoo. So yes, when Daniel was sent to this lion's den, he had no way of living, right? But instead, during this time, did Daniel panic? No, he still didn't panic. He still continued to pray and believe that God was always with him. So in this lion's den, God suddenly gave this strong power, well, not exactly to Daniel, but he suddenly was able to close the mouths of all the lions in the den. And Daniel lived. And everyone was amazed that Daniel somehow survived this major situation. And then, in return, the king was actually happy that this happened, because he realized that somehow the administrators manipulated the king. And then the king punished the administrators in the same way they tried to punish Daniel. He told all the people who were responsible to conspire against Daniel, he said, hey, take your wives, take your children, all into the lion's den. And then all these people who tried to blame Daniel, they all died in the trap that they set up with. So let me ask anyone, what was the worst time or worst day of your life? Does anyone remember the worst time or worst day of their lives? And during this time, when somebody did something bad to you, did you try to have revenge? Did you seek revenge? Let me share a personal story for myself. When I was in high school, I used to be in a group of people. I think I told you, the group of people, they were very bad people. They would make fun of people. They would bully people all the time. And there finally came a day when they told me, hey, you should draw this very bad picture of this girl who was kind of overweight in the group. She was considered fat. So they said, you should draw this picture of this girl and say really mean things about her. And I refused. So because of this, they were very mad. And then they tried to blame me. So somebody in the group, he drew this picture of the girl, and then he emailed the picture to everybody in our very popular circle of friends. And then the girl cried, of course. And then everybody was wondering who drew this picture, who sent this email, and everyone said it was James. And I had no responsibility in this whatsoever. And because of this, I was kicked out of the group. I started to get threats. People started to bully me. People started to beat me up after school. But during this time, I never panicked. I could have easily tried to start fights. I could have easily maybe thrown stones at their houses if I wanted to. But instead, I decided to have God by my side. I prayed to him every day. And thanks to this, I was able to meet some of the best friends of my life. So I think everything happens in life for a reason. We should never question why. We should never try to figure out why certain bad things happen to us, because God always has a plan. And if it wasn't for this event, which at the time was very hard for me, it was the loneliest winter of my life. I had no friends. I had nobody to call during that winter. So all I had were just TV and video games, I guess. But then I met my best friend who ended up being the best man at my wedding. His name is Jay, and he is definitely the best friend that I've ever met. And it's thanks to that event that I was able to meet him. So everyone, let's try to follow God's plan even during our rough times. Just know that God is always going to be with us. Amen.